Hey there. Today I wanted to do a video about a site I came across called CTFChallenge, and I wanted to do just kind of like a brief review about it and then do a walkthrough of one of the challenges. So CTF Challenge is, as it says here, is a collection of 12 vulnerable web applications. Each one has its own realistic infrastructure built over several subdomains containing vulnerabilities based on bug reports, real-world experience, or vulnerabilities found in the OWASP top 10. So basically, there's a dozen web challenges. I'm always on the lookout for sites like these because you can never have enough challenges. So I saw this one on Twitter, and I checked it out. And so six of them are free. There's six free challenges, and then there are six that are premium. There's a one-time fee of $20, and then you get access to those. So I did the first three free ones, and I thought they were put together very well, and was having a lot of fun with them. So I went ahead and did the premium. And excuse me, the premium one I did was, honestly, it's one of the most fun web challenges I've done in quite a while, which is actually kind of why I wanted to make a video, because it just kind of got me excited about it. So like the kind of the hook is that it's, a more realistic environment with, real world vulnerabilities and stuff. And it definitely does feel different. Like, so I'm on Try Hack Me and Hack the Box, and I do lots of CTF challenges, web challenges and stuff. And like, contrive's not the right word, but it's definitely like an artificial environment. You feel like a lot of times where it's like you're very focused on the singular machine, and I don't know, it's definitely a different sort of feel. And then this site, or the challenges here, there's definitely a more real world, like it feels a lot more like how you would go about trying to exploit something like in reality, or if you're looking for bug bounties and stuff. Like, I won't give anything away, but one of the challenges I actually was stuck for a little while because the thing that I needed to do isn't like typically what you would do in a web challenge. So like I had to like shift my brain out of like web challenge mode, and it's more like actually think about, okay, exploit something mode. I don't know, it's probably a subtle distinction, but I don't know, it just feels kind of refreshing. And so like, I don't know, it's been really enjoyable so far. Like I said, I've only done four of them, but so the challenge I wanted to go do a walkthrough on today is this VulnForum one. So basically our goal here is kind of like, can we take over the admin account and view the secret messages? Oh, so one thing, so the site is kind of set up, they have like a little onboarding thing. So like if you're kind of like new to hacking or web exploitation, like they give you this kind of little thing you can go through, and it tells you kind of what tools you want to install, sort of like how you'd use them, a little bit about them. And also, so the site has, they give you a set of word lists. So like if you need to enumerate or brute force anything, these are the word lists you want to use, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, I think they just do it because there's also a rate limiter. You're only allowed 10 requests a second, and each account has a unique cookie, so you have to include that cookie in every request you make. Which kind of is like the only negative I have to say so far about the site, and it's a small one, is not that it's there's a rate limiter. That's fine. It's just, if there is a rate limiter and you are giving a custom word list, I feel like maybe they could be a little smaller. Like I think the one's like 4,000, which isn't big, but at 10 requests a second, so it's 4,600 math. I don't know. That's like 8 to 10 minutes, which again, that's not that long. Especially, I mean, that's much shorter than like kind of like a typical enumeration on like a Hack the box or something. But I don't know, I feel like if they are going to give you that, it'd be cooler than to go ahead and make it a little smaller, so you just waste a little less time, like especially because you only get 10 requests, so it's not like you can sort of like do multiple things. I don't know, it's just, that's my only gripe, and that's not even really a gripe. And then, oh yeah, so again, since you do have a unique cookie for each account, I'm doing this on like a dummy account because I didn't want anyone stealing my cookie. And also the first challenge has a little walkthrough too, which is pretty cool. like it steps you through everything step by step, tells you exactly what you want to do, how to run it and everything, which is pretty cool. If you're like a newer user or you're unfamiliar with everything, it like really holds your hand through the process. And even if you're not, like, it's just nice. There's at least one challenge where you can work on your own, and if you get stuck, like, you have immediate, like, a help immediately right away. So I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool. So let me turn on my proxy and copy this cookie. So I'll go ahead and get a enumeration going, and since you do have to have that cookie in every request, I'm gonna go ahead and make a variable for it just so it's a little easier. So let's do a go buster. The one they kind of like have you using is, I don't know if you pronounce it FUF or FUF. Well, I use that one too, but I don't know. I learned Go Buster was the one I learned on, so it's just out of habit. That's sort of what I always gravitate towards. And then we need that cookie. And I think the default is 10 already. Oops. But go ahead and do that. And then, so that would look like it'd be more than 10 a second, but I don't know, however it kind of works out in reality, it seems to be about the right amount. And then we'll do cannot type today. That looks good. Okay, so while that's going, then we'll go ahead and start taking a look at what we've got here. So which is very basic sort of forum. We'll see there's a public, user, and admin. We can log in, and we only have access to the public one. So if we check that out, we can see there's a Toby user. So this forum is for a closed group, and new user registration is not available. So we see we can't make comments and we can't create an account. So what we're probably going to need to do then is hack our way in. If we see there's this Toby user, and so right away we do get a little bit of information. We can see that there's a user subdirectory and then some kind of identifier. Looks like maybe it's like a MD5 hash. Let's go ahead and just get something to keep notes on. So we've found a couple things already. And so it looked like one was that forum we were in. And then 1.1. So like, let me see what see what 0.1 is. And it looks like it's just the same thing. Oops. And so we can try a couple things right off the bat. So maybe we could access the other forums like with a 2, but does not appear to be working. So we could try a few others. But going back to that Toby user. So the identifier looks like maybe it's MD5 hash. So one thing you can always kind of try is we can see like maybe that's just the hash of Toby. So we could try out, we could see if Toby, it does not appear to be the case. We try Toby with a new line character. No. So like, I don't know, hardly ever will that work, but it's something to think about. If it is a hash and you can kind of think about or find out how that hash is generated, then you have a way to enumerate other users. So it's usually worth the effort, or at least something to think about. So let's go ahead and try and log in now then. So let's try out our favorite admin. So invalid username or password. We know there is a Toby user. So let's try Toby and password. And that also is not. And so we say it says invalid username or password. So it's not really like if it just said invalid password, then we know there's a way we could at least try and enumerate some other usernames. So one kind of avenue forward here would be, we know there is a Toby user, so we could just start brute forcing passwords to see if that works. So let's check out our actual login attempt to get an idea for how we are logging in. So we see invalid username or password. So it looks like getting a JSON response. And here's one interesting thing. We see there is this method equals local parameter. So one of the first things I always like to do when you have some kind of parameter, especially one that's you don't normally find, is let's get rid of it and see what happens if we make a request that way. A lot of times, if you can maybe get an error, maybe you'll get some stack trace or some kind of information. But here we just get missing required variable. So we do see it is required. So then let's see what happens if we just give it some gobbledygook. So we get invalid auth method. The auth method was not recognized. So one thing we could do, there is a parameters word list. We could go ahead and try and brute force through that list and see if maybe we get something else for a different value for method. But since it was local, kind of the obvious one to try then is remote. And bingo, we see right away we get the first flag. And then we also get this. So there's a server error, and server responded with a 404 error. So if we look at closer at that, we see these are backslashes are just escape characters. So we see here we've got another subdomain, this auth, this random, and then auth vulnforum.uk.auth. And if we look at, so if we go to like, we look at the certificate. So crt.sh is sort of like a web access to the, what is it called? Certificate transparency logs or something. Basically, every certificate that's issued gets put in there, and then you can search through them. That's not going to give me anything. Oops. And so we see for those, there's actually also this auth VulnForum. So let's actually see what happens if we go there. Let's take a look at it. We get invalid domain. Let's see what the actual, so 404, so it's responding with, so it's set up to say invalid domain. Oops. So same thing. So one thing then we can try is actually do DNS, do a DNS recon on it. Standard. Let's see what we get here. So we see it is resolving to so the CNAME, so that means that site is resolving to this vulnauth.co.uk. So let's take a look at that site. So we see we get this this error here. So this is not part of the hacking challenges. All requests must be sent with a cookie. So that's, we did not have our cookie set when we made that, and it is part of their setup. So that is both a good sign, and we just need to add the cookie now. So if we go to CTFchallenge, and then I just want just the hex, or not hex, base64. And now, and I reload it, I should be good. There we go. So we see here now we get a site vulnauth user location. What is vulnauth? Well, right away excited we get the second flag, and vulnauth. So what it looks like is this is kind of like a third-party site that handles authentication. And if we look at it, so when we tried to access it, we got 404 error, like the server's not set up, or it's not getting a response. So if we think about it, we could try and go ahead and use this site. If we could, this server is set up so that we can use remote login to this site, which goes to the vulnauth.co.uk. So if we try and make an account for that site, let's do we'll see if we can create an account for it. So now we register it, it's a CNAME record. So we already know that there is a CNAME record already set up for that. So now we could head over to that site and start adding users. So now what we could try and do then, maybe, if it loads. Oh, so this, I already forgot what it was. We want to use the credentials we just set up. Did I not? Oh, great. It's going to suck if I can't remember what I made, or if I typoed it. Whew. So now it looks like we can create users that we can then use to log in to the VulnForum. So let's do one, and then we'll create that user and then see if we can log in with it. So then yeah, let's see if we can log in now as could not look up user from remote hash. Local UUID could not be found on the database. And then that's just the same flag from before. So if we think about it, we do know one user and we do know their UUID. So if instead of creating a new user, well, we set up one for a remote login for Toby, who we know is an actual user, and we know his UUID. Then we should hopefully now be able to log in as Toby. Let's go ahead and do it on this. I'll set up a, I'll intercept it. So if we log in as Toby, I'm intercepting it because we need to change that to remote. And then I'll forward it through. And now we get login successful. So now we have access as Toby whenever we log in remotely. So we see already we got the third flag. So we've already got 3. We just need the one more. So we need to figure out a way into this admin forum. So there's another user, and let's check out the new forum we can access. So I've added a feature to allow you to change your password in the settings section. Check it out. Sounds like a great idea. So John, so we now know John is the admin, and we can look at John, and here's his user hash. So right away we should be thinking, well, we already have a way now to set up how we want to log in remotely. So let's go ahead and do John. And we'll make his password as well. And so we see that created. So let's go ahead now and try I'll just do it in burp. Spoiler alert, it's not going to work. So if we try and log in as John with the password remote, we get this. Admins cannot log in using this method. Admin must log on locally. So wah, wah. So if we look, though, there is this couple new things we can think about. There's some kind of settings section, which I don't see a link to or anywhere. And we also now have the ability to leave comments. Well, if we look back, hopefully our enumeration is done. We see there's actually a /settings, and it forwarded to a login. So it looks like if we're logged in, we should hopefully be able to go to settings. So let's see what is there. So we see right away we have a user change password. So let's change his password just to get an idea. We can see how it works. Password changed. And if we look at what actually happened, post. So, whoops. So this is pretty interesting in the fact that normally you kind of see this stuff set up as a post request, but here it's actually just a get request. So if we send settings, password, and then hash, looks like we need that user hash, it will change the password. So let's try a couple things. Can we locally change someone else's password? Invalid security hash entered. So it's probably tied to this token here, which is, I'm assuming, how it tells that you are logged in. So what if we get rid of that? I'm assuming it won't let us do it, but yeah, so not logged in. So it looks like we need to change someone else's password. We need to be logged in as them and have the hash. So let's check out the other new thing we found, which was the ability to post messages. So let's get an idea for how that works. Hello world. And let's see what's going on here with that. So it's a post, and with just a comment, and we get a redirect back to the page. So we could try and do, Well, one thing we could try, a couple avenues for it is, so we know John, we could try and brute force just logging in has him. The other thing we can try is if we actually start looking at the source code of these pages, what we're going to notice here is there is a HTML comment. And it looks like it is for when you post a comment. So BB code plugin, and it gives us some site. So let's see what's going on with that. So it's a PHP class to turn a string which contains BB code into HTML. And it gives us a little example here. So looks like a hyper, so it's kind of like markup, and it's going to convert that to HTML tags. So let's see then. Let's just take their example and post that and see what happens. And we see, well, right away we see something very interesting in that John has posted. I've seen this message, but I'm too lazy to sort it out right now. I will come back later. So right away that makes me think, oh, there's got to be some kind of XSS attack, because it's set up so that whenever we post, the admin, I mean, this is kind of a typical in a web challenge, the admin comes and looks at the account. And so now we have a method into his account, right? If we can get some kind of cross-site script attack, we can potentially steal his cookie and then log in as him, and then we would have access to the admin forum. And then now we're also dealing with this BB code plugin stuff, which is hopefully going to give us a way to do kind of a cross-site script attack. But if we look here, but we see everything we posted, the only one, so this here is a broken image. So the only one that seems to maybe have actually converted to HTML tags is this IMG. But let's go ahead and look through the code. So I hate PHP, and I'm not very good at PHP, but I can understand it well enough to see what's kind of going on here. So like when the class is created, it's checking for a BB code conf file, which we saw was also right there. And then it's going to take that file, and each line it's going to put it into an array. And it's going to iterate over that. And so if start tagging sets out as false, so it won't run this. And then if allowed tags, hashtag allowed tags is in that conf file, then everything after that, so it'll set start tagging to true. And then the next time through the loop, it'll check this code. So anything in that conf file on the line after allowed tags will reach this area code. And basically it's looking for, if it doesn't start out with double slashes, it's going to change that to lowercase. Oh, it's going to change it to lowercase and take out all the letters, I believe. And if there's anything left over, it's going to set that whole string to allowed to. So presumably it is, well, so let's actually go ahead and look. Since it's looking for a conf file, let's see if there is a conf file in the root directory. And aha, we do have one. So let's go ahead and see what it is. So we see here, let's look at the example one too that they give. Okay, yeah, so we have the allowed tag, so we know it's going to try and process all these, but these are all double escaped. And we saw from the code here that it's only going to put these into allowed tags if it is, if it's not double escaped. So it looks like the only tag we're going to be able to convert to HTML is this image tag. And if we go check out the rest of what's happening here, so the actual kind of run command, this is sort of how you would want to set it up in your code. So it's going to take that comment, and then it's going to run that comment. And so this is what it's actually going to be doing to anything we stick in between image tags. Is, unfortunately for us, it's going to remove double quotes and opening and closing brackets. Well, it's not going to remove them. It's going to escape them out into HTML escapes. And then for an image, so we know none of these are going to work for the way ours is set up. It's going to look for, so these are escape characters. It's going to look for the image, the IMG bracket tags, and then it's looking for HTTP. The S is optional, so either HTTPS or HTTP. Then the colon // and then this .* question mark means zero or more of any characters or any, anything up to, then we have a period, and then it has to be one of these. So, and then a closing image tag. So basically we can use anything, but it has to be between HTTPS and it has to end in .jpeg. And this one here, so like see how this is in parentheses. This is how I think it works. So this is a regular expression. This is a regex expression. And I forget what they call it. Match group, filter group, I don't remember. But basically these parentheses I'll call it a match group. And so that's the first one. And so I think that's what this *1 is basically it's going to take everything from HTTPS on to the end of dot whatever extension, and it's going to stick that in between an image source opening and closing tag, and it's going to put as many of those as there are. So it'll have an array of finds, and then it replaces all with that, and then when we get down there, that's how it's going to replace it. So we're kind of looking at how can we do a cross-site scripting with just image tags. Now, I'll tell you, I was totally tunnel visioned on this for a while because I got so hung up on it's got to be an XSS attack because that's how these challenges are often set up. But like the solution is actually like so obvious if you just take a step back and think about it. Like we're on a page telling us they've set up a feature to allow you to change your password. And then not only that, we know that to change the password, we don't have to send a post request. It's actually just a GET request. So we could use, instead of trying to find some kind of way to load JavaScript and get the admin to, hit a site we control so that we can steal his cookies so that we can log in as him, we can simply set the source for the image to this address here, and it's going to make a GET request. I mean, that's how it gets your image. If you have a IMG source and then the URL, it goes out to that URL to get the image to load on your browser. So and it does that with a GET request. So we could actually just use this URL, have him load that, and it'll change his password for us. And since he's the one doing it, it's his browser doing it, he's logged in, and everything should work correctly. So we have everything we need to do that. We know his, did I not copy it? We know his hash. Oh, I did copy that. So let's go ahead and give that a go and see if that works. So we know it has to be between IMGs, and it has to start out with actually, let me just use the, yeah, this will work. And then we want to give it these. Make sure I've got this right. So settings password, we give it the password parameter, what we want his password to be. So we'll have it as password 1. I'll just make it password so it's easy to remember. And hash, that is his hash. And then the one thing we need to remember though is it has to end in .jpeg or .one of those extensions. So we'll just go ahead and add an extra parameter here so as not to screw anything up. And blah equals blah dot jpg, and then give it a closing image tag, and this should work, assuming I did not typo anything. So let's, hopefully we have a so we have a broken thing, and then so we actually should have made that exact same request because our browser should have just tried to load this image and gone to this site, and we should get a what was it, invalid hash. Yeah, so because we can't change it because we're using his hash and we're logged in as us. But now when he hits this page, let's reload it. So we know he's been there now, so his browser should have made that request and changed his password. So we should now be able to log in as him. So there was John, and his password was password. Fingers crossed. Yay! So now we are logged in as the admin, and we can get to the admin section, which is housing this confidential information. And he gives us the flag. Yay! So that would be the fourth flag, and as we saw there is only 4. So we could have entered them in, got all the flags, and all the glory that comes with it. So that's basically a challenge, and I don't know, I think that's a pretty good challenge. Kind of has some cool elements in the fact that there's actual, certificates set up, and CNAME records and everything like that. So if you're interested in more web challenges, I definitely would recommend the challenges here. Like I said, I've done these 4, and definitely, like, I did this premium one, and like I said, I mean, it's the reason I made this video because I was just kind of excited about how fun it was. So if you get a chance, definitely check it out. And yeah, that's it. Take care.